Whenever you're ready.
All right, welcome to college. You come in your first year wide-eyed and ready for new experiences. With this comes new people and new places, new relationships. And with these new relationships, new letdowns. How many times has someone not lived up to your expectations or hurt you? Now today I'd like to propose a solution to the problem of inadequate romantic partners. Now I know some of you are not monogamous, but for those of you who are, I'd like to introduce you to a person that fulfills what many people want in a person. Now I've done extensive research and interviewing, and I found that this person is me. Now, many years in the social psychology department here, studying under Dr. Baumeister and Dr. Tice, co-authors of Social Dimensions of Sex, I've gained much experience with sociosexual research. Due to my experience, I have a merited estimation of what men and women want in their partners. So in an effort to persuade you that you want to date me, I will review some recent relationship research, present an empirical study conducted over the past 2 weeks that indicates what people look for in a mate and how I exemplify those traits. And I will present to you personal testimony from credible resources that I do, in fact, encompass these traits that people want. A quick note, for the purpose of this presentation, we'll be using sexual relationships and romantic relationships interchangeably. In lay terms, they're different, but in social psychology, we just kind of assume it's the same thing. All right, so it's a luxury having lots of access to relationship research. Quickly, I'd like to brush you up on some that we've been doing in our lab. The person I've been working under, Dr. Baumeister, has this social exchange theory, and he states in his book, Social Dimensions of Sex, that women give sex to men. That is, sex is a kind of resource that women control and that men want. And this is directly attributed to the relative investment theory, and that women control sex because of the potential consequences of sexual intercourse. Now, their relative investment has the potential to be, at minimum, 9 months. For men, it could be as little as a couple seconds. Now, women control who they have sex with because they typically opt for someone that will share in this investment. Also, in research conducted very, very recently in our lab, self-control is noted as a strong indicator for monogamous sexual behaviors. In an article entitled Religion, Morality, and Self-Control, Angier likens the function of self-control to a muscle in that it's a limited resource, but it is renewable. Conscious acts of volition drain this resource, which some people have more than others. According to Matt Galliot in Self-Regulation and Sexual Restraint, which was just published 2 months ago, when participants were depleted of self-control and that they were forced to make conscious decisions, they were more likely to engage in sexual infidelity. Okay, that out of the way, how is this person going to convince me that I would be a proper mate for them? So I'm going to present some empirical evidence from a study that I conducted that shows that I am what people want. So in this study, I surveyed 10 random individuals, 5 male and 5 female, on how important they rate on a 9-point scale particular traits that they would want in another person. These included dispositional traits such as personality and temperament, and aesthetic traits such as hair, eyes, and fitness. Now for the second part, I took the exact same survey, and instead of putting it on other people, I had a confederate hand this survey out to people I knew, and had how well does my profile exemplify these traits. So I analyzed these data, and these are some of the correlations I found. Dispositional traits, in general, considered more desirable in what people wanted to mate. That is, personality, sense of humor, cleanliness, future prospects, responsibility, temperament, and intelligence were all rated at higher than 6.5. Of these, I was rated 7.4 for humor, 7.2 for personality and future prospects, 6.5 for responsibility, 8.1 for temperament, and 6.6 for intelligence. Now, unfortunately, I was rated slightly lower on aesthetic traits, such as height, physical fitness, and athleticism, but findings found that people were not as concerned with these. As well as the study I conducted, a measure of self-control, of trait self-control, was taken of me as part of a mass screening process in my introductory psychology class in fall of 2004. My response on this questionnaire indicated that I have high trait self-control. And if you remember what Matt Galliot said, people with high trait self-control tend to have more monogamous behaviors. So if numbers are not what you're into and you want testimony, I interviewed many people about their personal and professional opinions of me. Lauren Brewer, a graduate student in the social psychology department, stated, "Michael Pyle is a very determined worker with a bright future. He also has great hair." Now Lauren knows what it means to be able to work hard for herself, being that the FSU social psych department is one of the hardest in the country to get into. The first statement attributes to my adequacy of a mate and that I have lots to offer in terms of investment, and the second just happens to be your personal opinion. Tyler Stillman, another graduate student at FSU, said, Michael Pyle has an incredible knack for problem solving and critical thinking. These traits, along with his imagination, should take him far in the field of psychology, which again exemplifies what I have to offer in terms of investment. Lisa Whitley, a graduating psychology student, said, Michael is hilarious. When I say hilarious, I mean he's the funniest person on the planet. And clearly we can see bias in that. Ryan Schaefer, a graduating engineer major and a good friend, stated, Michael has full cognitive control over his temper. He is always calm and resolute about any confrontations. Jessica Smith, a local Tallahassee resident, attested to my responsibility by stating, I honestly and wholeheartedly trust Michael with my sweet 2- and 6-year-old kids. Stephanie Marson, a student and a friend, said that if I were to date somebody solely based on their eyes, I would pick Michael Pyle. Now, it is important to note that these are opinions and therefore subject to bias, but I submit that the best way to know a person is to find out what the people around them think of them. And this is why I present these. These testimonies is simply a more personal way of getting to know me. Now, I'm sure that some of you scoffed at the notion that I am the ideal romantic partner, but by familiarizing you with the current theories of sexual and romantic behavior, showing you empirical evidence of how I am desirable, and giving you personal testimonies, I believe that I've shown you why I'm a highly desirable mate. Now, keep in mind, everyone prefers different things. Unfortunately, my sample size for my study was not big enough to make a comprehensive conclusion of what people want, but I can only show you small trends. And for those of you who are interested, I'll be taking offers at the door after class.